Happy Tuesday, Scott.
Happy Tuesday. Good to be back with you. How are you, Robin?
I'm doing well. How are you, my friend?
Doing well. Can't complain. New Year's off to a pretty good start and back to work, busy, and time is flying by. We're February right around the corner, just a couple days away,
I know it's hard to believe we're already in the second half of January.
Yep.
Time's ticking by quickly for sure.
Certainly does. Well, I certainly know our lives have changed, obviously, being in front of the computer. It seems like you're busier and busier and more connected, and time seems to pass certainly a lot more quickly than it used to.
Yeah. So I'm excited to chat with you tonight and to bring on our special guest that we have. For those of you that are currently joining us, watching us, we're planning to talk a little bit tonight about teacher retention and recruitment. How do we, obtain and retain the talent that we have at schools, great teaching and learning that's going on. And then how do we bring people into this industry when, it may not seem to be the most appealing time to come into the industry. So really? I'm excited that we have an associate superintendent with us here tonight on the call. We'll introduce him in a moment, but just really excited to get his viewpoint, his perception, what he's seeing in his school district, and learn from him tonight.
Absolutely.
And then I think, Scott, we're also going to talk a little bit about some conferences that are coming up. It's that time of year when normally we're getting in planes and, flying around to see all of our amazing educator friends, but we'll be doing that a little differently this year. So we'll kind of chat about some of the conferences that are coming up, some learning opportunities that you might want to join in, and some of those are even free. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, and it kind of goes hand in hand, right? I'm really hoping that more teachers are able to attend some of these events because it won't cost $1,000, $2,000 or more to attend one of these events. So hopefully the added professional development will encourage folks to stay in the profession or draw more folks in at the excitement of, what technology and education can be as a partnership.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. So, well, before we, get too far in our little rabbit hole, I want to bring on our guest tonight. How about you?
Let's do it.
All right, so let's welcome to our show, Michael Godot. He is the Associate Superintendent at Ombudsman Alternative Charter Schools, and he is located in Phoenix. Welcome to the show, Michael.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you both for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah. Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
So if you want to start off, Michael, just kind of tell the audience here a little bit about what you do in the school system that you oversee and help lead.
All right, well, thank you. So I work with Ombudsman Alternative Schools. So the really neat part about the job is that we work with the kids who really a lot of districts have given up on or have disappeared from other districts. So at times it can be challenging, but the best part about the job is that we're dealing with a lot of kids who, if they don't make it, they don't really have another shot. And so they come to us sometimes as a last chance, and it just makes those graduations more powerful every time they finish a class or they finish an assignment. And, when we talk about, I know you mentioned teacher retention is such a huge thing this year. We're really looking for a lot of little victories and small victories as we go. And that's been the biggest thing this year, is not to get discouraged and, look for the little victories with each kid. At this point, we have kids that graduate at all points of the year. We're happy that as of last week, all of our 7 schools in Arizona have celebrated at least one graduate. So despite research,
online learning, that small victory.
Huge. I mean, I shouldn't say small. I mean, that's a huge victory because for many of our kids, and I taught senior government for such a long time, and so I've been part of graduations for a while. But it wasn't until an ombudsman graduation, or I should just say an alternative graduation, that I realized how powerful getting a high school diploma could be for a lot of students and families. So, our mission is a social mission to offer hope. And despite COVID, we've really dived into that. And we've really made sure that despite anything going on, we're going to be there. We're going to have our doors open, which I know is, you could call a debatable political statement, whatever, but we try to be as accessible to kids as we possibly can. And, it's been a fun year.
So
amazing.
Just
Robert.
Thinking about, your schools and that you're leading there, and this, alternative programs that you're running, where it may be hard to get teachers, students to come to school at all, right? And in this time, it's been crazy. What are you guys doing to celebrate the small victories, or, have the teachers feel like there's hope still, when, I know I'm seeing it everywhere. I get contacted on LinkedIn, I get contacted on my personal Facebook Messenger, etc. Like, hey, I'm a teacher, I'm really struggling. I don't know if I want to continue on in this, field. Do you have advice? And, obviously my advice as always is, we're strong as teachers. You stick with it, and when you dig deeper. But how are you celebrating the small victories and encouraging teachers to stay the course?
So really what we try to emphasize is building relationships. And that's really where we found the most victories. Many students who, let's picture a year ago, we have some students who are attendance issues at school. So we always call home and nobody's going to pick up. And all of a sudden during COVID, families will pick up and they'll talk to us and they'll have these long conversations about how they're stuck at home and they're so happy to hear a voice. And, whether or not their kid did any work that week, we've really got to celebrate the fact that we reached out to a family, that we made that connection. And, wherever possible and wherever it's possible with safety efforts too, we try to do home visits. So anytime we can actually make a connection with the kid and visibly see them and just care, that's really the biggest thing. And when it comes to the relationships, I know why a lot of educators are struggling, because I'm not saying we didn't have to work hard at it, but it's a little easier when the kids are walking, see if they smile or they frown, and, you can react to that. You can't react to that. So before you can do the content, before we can give all this work and say, this is what you need to do, today in this COVID era, we really focus on building the relationships. And I will say that's been our strongest amount of victories so far. The kids we haven't heard from, we're hearing from, they want us to be engaged in school, we'll talk about that later, but let's focus on at least keeping them connected and letting know that the school cares. School's here for them. We put out a survey. We did a survey recently just to find out the social emotional health of our kids, and the reaction from students who did it was really just, keep reaching out. I'm sorry I'm not doing my work, but please keep calling, please keep texting, please keep on me. And on the flip side too, I will say that the largest response we got, I wanted to share with principals. I screenshotted it. It was just basically, go back to those relationships. I'm tired of hearing how behind I am. Can somebody just ask me how I'm doing? I want somebody to ask me how I'm doing, how my day was when I was watching my little siblings all day. I'm sorry I didn't get your essay done. I was watching my 5-year-old. So really just the relationships is really what we've been celebrating, because we had to start somewhere, and that's where we started.
Yeah, it's powerful. And that word relationship is one of my favorite words, because I think it really drives everything we do, right? Even the introverts in the world still want a certain level of relationship and connection with other human beings. It's what we're all driven for. Is there anything you guys are doing, or that maybe you've seen your teachers do, that's been successful in terms of building relationships with and among them? Like, are faculty more collaborative this year, or more creative, or as school leaders, are you more involved or differently involved? How are you handling those relationships over the past 10, 12 months?
So I'll tell you, that's been just as hard as working with the students, because it does bring new challenges. I don't know many people who got an education because they wanted to sit behind a computer. Not many people did that. And the same thing with staff meetings. As much as we'd like to celebrate that staff meetings are a little shorter now, they're a little shorter now, and we're all pulled to a room, and it's a little easier to multitask. It's also a little harder sometimes to get your message across. You're sitting on a screen for 8 hours, and now I got to sit in a staff meeting for 45 minutes and be attentive and really remember that piece of information you gave me and make sure it's on my mind for tomorrow. So it's really emphasized just really trying to be clear and concise in our communications, making sure agendas are posted through Teams, just really things to make sure that we can constantly go back to it, just like our kids. The biggest thing we tried to emphasize with our principals, we always come together in July and talk about the outline for the year. And we talked about, if we're going to talk about teachers setting these expectations for kids as building leaders, we have to do it and model it for our staff. So we've got to do little things like turning the camera on our screens, trying to make sure that we can make that connection. Now, we don't require kids to turn on the cameras, but as a room leader, as a building leader, I should be trying to make that connection still. And, a teacher who doesn't post their work somewhere so kids can't find it, same thing with the staff agenda. Do you make it accessible to your staff in case somebody's out or somebody wants to refer to something? So it's been some training and it's been some adjusting. Again, just as with students, everybody's had to adjust.
Love it.
So have you guys had any retention issues with any of your educators? Have you seen any that have decided to leave mid-year or maybe even before the year started? What's the staffing situation look like?
I'm not trying to find some wood to knock on. We've been very fortunate this year that we, at this point, have not had any staff leave. If you follow the news with Arizona, we do know that people anticipated an uptick after Christmas, and we're kind of riding that wave right now, but we haven't had any resignations. We've of course had some people express that they'd like some more safety guidelines followed, which we've done. We've done the basic PPE items, but it is really tough because, again, people want to make that connection. It's really hard for a student you've been trying to motivate for a year, and they finally show up to sign their graduation contract. Our staff wants to hug them. They want to hug them. They want to run up to them. They want to shake their hand, and it's, turning into an elbow bump or turning into congratulations, but stay over there.
Yeah. Virtual high five in real life.
Virtual high five.
Right.
What about, obviously we'll be rolling into the spring before we even know it. And it'll be that time for recruitment again, where, you're looking to grow your staffs or replace teachers that are, deciding to retire or do something different. How do you think, what are your thoughts around that? How do you think you're going to have to start, recruiting in a different way this year?
Well, it is really tough. Ombudsman is an alternative charter program. So being a charter school, it means we're not a neighborhood school. It means we do have to do a little push to make sure people know about us. And in Arizona, about 10% of the school age population just disappeared coming into the school year. So, COVID we know they didn't move. They're just in Arizona and they disappeared. So we are going to make a heavy push to try to keep those kids engaged in school. And our recruiters are very good at, if our program doesn't fit, we're going to try to at least encourage you somewhere else. So we're going to make a big push this coming spring to expand our services and make sure that we're accessible to kids in a lot of areas of the state. Also make sure that kids have access to our learning, whether or not they still have to stay home due to COVID reasons. And that's going to mean we're going to have to bring on some additional staff. So we are anticipating that we're not going to take a loss, because we're going to really dive into our mission and really target keeping kids in school. And we can't do that with staff, so.
Yeah, that's a great point. We're seeing that everywhere across the United States right now. Even 60 Minutes had it on a story not too long ago. The number of students, theirs was specifically in Florida, that are they have no idea where these students are. And, even having, social workers try to go out and locate these students for wellness checks. It's an incredibly difficult task. So we're seeing that all over the nation for sure. Definitely an opportunity for an institution like yours to be able to reach out to those kids and give them a place where they feel safe, where they want to come to school each day and learn and be successful. So yeah, shout out to you.
Absolutely.
Oh, thank you.
So Michael, as we begin to hopefully come out of this and education goes back to not what it was, but a new normal, where do you see teaching and learning going, and what do you expect from educators? How's the hybrid thing going to stick around? How are we going to bring folks back in person? Where do you think this whole education thing is going to go, and the role of a teacher as we move forward here?
So I love this question, because if you follow Facebook threads or you hear about they love debating this. They love, you always throw out, online learning does not work. Virtual education does not work. Hybrid does not work. And it does. Does it work for every kid? No. Just like a learning style, a learning strategy. Certain styles work for certain kids, and hopefully kids will get options to, find where they really excel. We've got kids who are struggling in this scenario right now. We're in a hybrid format. We've got some kids who are struggling, but we've got some kids who are absolutely thriving. Go back to that survey we put. We've got some kids with anxiety that said, this is perfect for me. I can send my teachers messages when I need it. Somebody's not looking at me in the class. I'm not worried about people looking at what I wear, what I look like, or whether I brushed my hair that day. So when I think about the future of education, it's really just trying to understand that we're not going to go back to what people think normal is. The normal has changed. It's done. And when you think about everything that educators are doing right now, educators are overworked. They're doing everything they can. And that's because we're trying to force learning style down that might not be the best for them. So as schools do start to open back up and kids are back in the classroom, I think we are going to see a lot more schools trying to offer these blended hybrid approaches. And I think we are going to see quite a few kids thrive in it. And it's not just going to be the high achieving kids that want to get A's on everything. It's going to be the kids who might not be going to university, who might be going vocational or already in the workforce, and they're just looking a way to finish their degree. And I see somebody's put student choice in the chat. I mean, that's it. These kids are going to have options. And that's a big thing for schools and districts to realize here, that it wants to go back to a brick and mortar traditional classroom. And not everybody wants to go to a virtual classroom. So by providing options, we're really going to see a lot of things develop. And I think we're going to get stronger in the virtual climate as it's not as forced as it is today. People will have a chance to perfect it, where right now, again, we are really rushed to make it.
Yeah. Well, and even those schools that do return, full brick and mortar, I think many teachers have realized the technology and the tools that they can leverage to enhance their teaching, right? That it truly doesn't have to be completely teacher-led anymore. That students can get feedback from a Flipgrid or an Alex or, Desmos, any one of these tools that are out there that can provide amazing feedback and kind of personalize that learning and student choice and all those kinds of things. So yeah, regardless of the school, physical or virtual building, there's things within that can be done as well. Super interesting.
Right.
Absolutely. Well, we are super excited to learn from you tonight, for sure, and hear your viewpoints and how your teachers are reacting to this, and how your students are, many of them, thriving, as you said, in this environment. I think I agree wholly with you that the disruption is here. It happened, and it's going to, many of these things will stay forever. But yeah, it is about that choice. And I think our students are going to demand that choice. Where in the past, you might have had some students who were a little bit vocal, who wish school was, done a certain way. And I use air quotes there because I always like to say, sometimes students had to play school depending on the learning environment. I think they're going to demand a modern teaching and learning experience and have more choice. So I couldn't agree more. We're just super grateful for leaders like you, Michael, who really are, leading the way for others, sharing your expertise with others. We're excited to have you guys in our Showcase School program. You are doing an amazing job growing your MIE community, just all around awesome. So thank you for being you, and thank you for sharing with everybody here with us tonight, and look forward to continuing this journey with you.
Well, thank you for letting our schools be part of it, and thank you all for listening and bringing me on.
You bet. So before we get you out of here, we have a little fun kind of spur of the moment lightning round. We got 7 fun questions for you. So you were not prepped for this. You have no idea what's coming, but I assure you, it's not going to be that bad. You'll be able to knock these out of the park.
Okay.
Robin, we'll let you kick it off with the first 4.
All right, easy ones. I'm going to give you some softballs. What's your favorite food?
Favorite food, Hawaiian food.
What is your favorite holiday?
Favorite holiday? Thanksgiving, but with ham.
Okay, nice choice there. Like what is your favorite sound?
Favorite sound? Favorite sound. I'd say music.
Any specific genre, or just music?
No, because our kids have always been very musical. Even as babies, they just hear music and they bounce around. So just anything that's rhythmic is very comforting.
So the opposite. What's your least favorite sound?
Least favorite sound. Okay, so let's go back to the kids. All of our kids have mastered that really high-pitched scream where they start to scream, but then they start to break decibel levels, and you got to check them. All of our kids have mastered that.
Yep.
I
got a 6-year-old and a 1.5-year-old at home, so I completely connect with that comment. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, 3 more and we'll get you out of here. What job outside of education, your current role, would you most like to attempt?
I guess I'll add a stipulation to this. I've always thought how great it would be to be a substitute teacher after winning the lottery.
Ooh, nice. Okay. Little caveat. Well, you better. We got 2 big lotteries in the country, so you better be playing them. There's plenty of money.
I know.
Yeah, right. And then again, kind of the opposite. What job outside of education would you definitely never want to attempt?
I have to be very careful because I told myself I would never be a building administrator, and I went from principal to assistant superintendent. So maybe I should just say I want to be somebody who wins the lottery and see if that happens.
Oh, there you go. I like it. And then lastly, at your retirement ceremony, whenever that may be, what do you hope everybody says about you and your career in education?
I hope that what they say is I've always been big on ed tech. I hope that they say that I was able to help people realize that they can bridge connections between students and make content fully accessible for kids, and that I've empowered them to take it upon themselves to do so.
Wow.
Love that. Yeah, it
Very
certainly seems like you're doing it. Yeah, absolutely powerful and with a great population and a group of students that absolutely need you and need that attention. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for joining.
Please follow Michael on Twitter. You see his Twitter handle there, despite the I waited till the end, Michael. Despite the Arizona Sun Devil hurts my Wildcat heart, but please follow him on Twitter, and you can check out his school, az.ombudsman.com. They're doing amazing work. Please follow him. And Michael, thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you soon.
All right, have a good night.
Take care. You too.
All right, what's up next, Scott? What's our next segment going to be all about?
I'm going to talk a little bit about the conference season. I know we're obviously we're not in the normal mode of conferences like you and I and all of our friends are used to. We're not going to be able to see each other and gather and whatnot. But I do think there are some really cool things happening. All of these conferences have gone virtual. And as we said kind of at the start of the show, maybe some opportunities for more teachers to get PD that couldn't do it before. So we just kind of wanted to run through somewhat chronologically all the different options out there.
All right, let's do this. So this week is the BET Show, which is actually not a US event, but it takes place in London every year. It's a huge event. I've never had the opportunity to attend BET, but I know many of you that are watching in have participated in the past, but I'm excited this year that they are making it free. So even us folks that don't need to hop the pond and go over to London can tune into BET this year.
And I know always some big releases, right? That's a great place where Microsoft and other folks do big launches. So I wanted to make sure all our US educator friends knew that it was free and they could tag along for all this great information.
Absolutely. And I'd say BET's a different conference too. It's not the traditional type of conference that we experience here in the US. I know that's the one thing that I hear the most when American educators head over there and go, they're like, oh, I was expecting it was going to be like ISSY, and it's not.
Right. Very different.
A different style of event. So tune in if you want to try something new. And then, of course, we've got FETC, which used to be the Florida event. Now they actually changed their name. So they're a Future of Ed Tech Conference. The organization is having their online event next week. It starts. We at Microsoft obviously will be there in a virtual capacity at FETC. It's one of our big events that we participate in every year. And also they are making it free this year. So again, a great opportunity for everybody out there listening in. If you want to, sharpen your crayons, if you would, on learning all the greatest things that are coming, listening to amazing educators share about how they, are doing things in their classroom with their students, cutting edge folks, they will be at FETC and you can tune in for free.
And the last of the free options tonight, but the rest of them that we're going to show, all of them seem to have registration fees in about the $150 to $250 range. So I know it's a chunk of change, but certainly, without having to pay travel costs, we hope folks can take advantage of these opportunities. So next up is your neck of the woods, Robin, down in Texas.
Yes. Typically this event takes place in Austin. This year was going to be in Dallas for the first time ever, but TCEA, the Texas Computer Education Association, its annual conference is the first week of February this year. Again, we at Microsoft will be there as well. We're excited to see all of the folks that will be at TCEA this year will be there. And obviously a great place to network and learn from other educators as well.
And TCEA, I would just add, as a Californian, I started going to TCEA because of the Microsoft influence. You get a much better balance out in Texas, whereas California and the West Coast, a lot of Google, a lot of Apple out here. So those of you who are Microsoft fans and want to see some more sessions on Microsoft tools and things like that, TCEA is definitely a great option for that.
Next up after TCEA, the following week would be PTNC, and it's taking place in Pennsylvania. So again, traditionally, usually takes place in Hershey, Pennsylvania, a much more smaller event than you would than you see. Like FETC and TCEA are pretty large. They're kind of not quite as large as ISSY, but still very large. PTNC is definitely more locally, regionally based. You see a lot more educators from the Pennsylvania area presenting and leading there, but definitely an opportunity that you can tune into as well.
And similarly with the regional feel, McCall?
Yep, McCall's in Michigan every year. I think it usually takes place in Grand Rapids. Correct me if I'm wrong, people out there. It's actually one of the events I've never been to either, but we at Microsoft do participate in McCall pretty heavily every year as well. It's a great partnership that we have with the folks there. They typically, in the past of what I've seen, have a lot of content around STEM. It's one of the major focuses of that conference. And an oldie but a goodie, our friends over at NCCE, they're one of our training partners that are fabulous, but they also have an annual conference they host each year. It typically bounces back and forth between Seattle and Portland. They represent the Pacific Northwest area of the United States. So they also will be virtual this year. So March 17th through 20th, you can learn more about the NCCE organization, tune into their conference at the site listed below, and connect with a ton of MIEs. Lots of MIEs leading sessions at NCCE each and every year.
Definitely. And I love the 50th anniversary and the retro 1970s logo there. Little throwback.
I kind of honestly, when I first see it, I kind of think of California. Speaking of California, is the traditional spring Q conference that takes place. I have attended Q in the past. Love that conference in Palm Springs, usually when it's in person. It's a very, obviously an awesome location, number one, but just the vibe, I'd say Q has a vibe like no other conference. It's a lot of energy that is brought into that conference. It's different. I don't know how to put my finger on it or describe it, but a lot of energy and a great vibe at Q each year.
Yeah, something about being in Palm Springs too, a town that's like a resort town, but also has people go there to have a really good time. And certainly the educators that come there embrace that while they're there for sure. And last but not least.
And then the biggie again, right? So we had ISSY in December this year because of the postponement from last summer. But this summer, as of right now, ISSY is planning for both online and in person in San Antonio, Texas this year. It'll be hot. Obviously, I'm a Texan here speaking to you, and summers in San Antonio are a bit steamy. But the in-person learning opportunities, hopefully we'll all be back to, fingers crossed, by then. If not, they have shown up very well in a virtual capacity that we saw in December. So if it has to be only virtual again, I know they will run a great show. But really, out of all of these events, the one thing that I love the most, and I know you're with me, Scott, on this, is the networking, the relationship building that you build with other educators, the friends that you leave these conferences with that are from all over the country and sometimes even the world that fly into these events.
100%. I've been exposed to so many new speakers over the years, amazing educators, and even the couple of virtual events I've attended in the past 5 or 6 months. In the chat room or whatever, you're finding people and connecting with folks on Twitter and Facebook and all that sort of thing. So yeah, the networking is hands down, a big part of the learning and one of the biggest reasons you should go to one or maybe even more of these events.
Yeah, totally.
So check these out. We'll tweet these all out after the show and tomorrow so you can follow up, but we certainly recommend looking at one or more of these events to enhance your professional development and your growth mindset and really take advantage of these amazing sessions being offered around the country.
Absolutely. We look forward to learning together with you guys. But before we take off for the evening, we want to recognize some epic educators. It's my favorite part of this the segment. I don't know. It's maybe not my favorite part, but because I love the whole thing, and just bringing different folks on and getting different viewpoints is great. But epic educators, here we go. All right.
Speaking of learning from great people, right?
Right. These people are amazing. You should follow them on social media for sure. The first epic educator that we wanted to give a shout out to is Jennifer Mahan. She is really doing some amazing thing with some littles along the lines of computer science, and really seeing when our littles are starting to problem solve, decode, be creative. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Jennifer for her amazing work, STEM work really that she's doing across her schools with her littles.
Really cool to see young kids being able to play and explore those kinds of things. Amazing what they can do at such a young age. Very, very fun.
Yes. And our next Epic Educator goes out to, drum roll, I guess we have it up here already, but we have Holly Holland and Wendy Hurio, who are two of our MIE experts in Florida. These ladies are not afraid to share their voice. So they had some great ideas for some new features that they were hoping to see in Flipgrid, and they reached out to the team, gave their feedback, and are getting that feedback implemented into the product tool. So shout out to you guys for, keep pushing our engineers and our product teams to make the tools work for your students. The tool's not going to work just for, the target, person. It needs to work for students. It needs to work for teachers. So shout out to you guys for really giving that feedback and pushing us to make the tools better for you. So kudos.
And to companies everywhere to listening, right? Microsoft and Flipgrid and all these companies are really listening to educators and really looking to help them out, especially in virtual and hybrid learning for sure.
We've definitely kept the engineers busy.
No doubt.
Last but definitely not least, we wanted to give a shout out to Jennifer Morgan. Jen is one of our MIE experts in Utah. Sorry, my 4 states were coming up to me. I had a brain fog. She's in Utah, and she is all about sharing and caring, I should say. The amount of questions that she has been responding to in the Microsoft Teams for Education Facebook group here lately have been ridiculous. Like, a question gets posted, and before anybody else can even see that it's there, Jen's already there with an answer. She's willing to step out and help everybody. So the big helping hand award for sure, Epic Educator, goes to Jennifer Morgan this round. So kudos to you all. Shout out for being great, sharing your knowledge with others, and willing to be helpful.
Absolutely. So important. I mean, it's amazing to me, as somebody who's been involved in this technology for several years now, to realize how many schools really didn't provide teachers with the education and training that they need. So I'm so thankful that those teachers are turning to social media and that they're getting advice and tips and, kind of insider information from folks that really know and are willing to share. So I know many of our viewers are doing the same. So thanks to Jen and everybody for sharing the knowledge and really helping educators everywhere to create the best classrooms that we all can for students. That's actually what it's all about in the end.
Absolutely. Well, we will be back on this show again in a couple of weeks. So if you're not tired of listening to us yet, you can tune back in on February 4th as we are going to be looking at some different information on different product releases. BET will be behind us. FETC will be behind us. It will actually be during the week of TCEA. So looking to hear any new exciting announcements that may be happening and bring on some new guests to the show.
Absolutely. Looking forward to that. And as always, you can catch all of our past episodes, including tonight's show, on our YouTube channel. Tonight's show will be up first thing in the morning, and you can catch any of the past episodes all the way back to our very first show. We hope you'll watch those, comment, let us know what you like on the show, what you want to see. And we certainly look forward to sharing more episodes with you in the very near future.
Yeah, thanks for joining guys tonight or watching us tomorrow, whenever it is you're tuning in. Have a great evening. Stay safe, and we'll talk soon. Peace.
Thanks, Robin. Good to see you. Have a good night.
Bye, Scott.